Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're watching God, Sex, and Love. Tonight, we're going to be going over to Trinidad and chatting with Mr. Troy Hadeed. So, if you're ready to come on with us, then stay tuned.
Not hard to figure out that I'm not the type of girl that goes around and fools around. Think I'm so done with that crazy part of my past. So don't get so bold to ask, cause I won't go there. So be aware, yeah. I'm good, but I bet you wishing I would have a one night affair.
Welcome back to God, Sex, and Love. I am here with Mr. Troy Hadeed. How you doing?
Good, love. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It really is an honor, and I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, I'm excited to have you, sir. I can't tell you how, I think I got this big old smile right now because I just love hearing your accent. So I think this is going to be fun.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to tell people when I travel, I'm like, there's more to me than my accent. Like that's I have
Yeah.
some stuff to say. Yeah,
Well, I'm sure.
yeah,
Well, listen, I want to hear all the things you have to say. I'm just going to let you
yeah,
know through the accent. So
yeah,
tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Troy. Tell us where you are and yeah, more, whatever you want us to know. And
yeah.
it's
Well, I'm from Trinidad. I was born in Trinidad, and I've lived here pretty much my whole life. But I've done quite a bit of traveling. I'll try and summarize it in as quick as I can, but I've been teaching and sharing yoga for over 15 years. I grew up in a Catholic home. To me, one of the greatest embodiments of love and yoga is this amazing man we call Jesus.
mm,
And I just finished writing a book and now looking for a publisher. And for me, in a nutshell, when people ask me what I do, I try not to draw a box around it. I try not to label myself as a yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga for 15 years, but there's so much more to it. Right now, that's just a vehicle that I have been using and probably, hopefully, will use till the day I die. But below that is in everything I do, I hope to increase our capacity to love one another, help people understand what it means to love, and connect people to their own relationship to God, help them deepen their relationship to their understanding of God, whatever that looks like or sounds like.
mhm.
So I think, it's all a human experience and it's always a work in progress. But that for me is Troy in a nutshell.
Well, listen, I appreciate that introduction of look, Troy,
Yeah,
everything like that. So I mean, I know it's funny because me and my husband, I'm trying to think, was it when we were fiancés or whenever it was, we were gonna, embark on this journey of yoga, and he sees it as like working out and like strengthening or something, and I would see it as like stretching and relaxation. And so I think because we saw it differently, and then we were trying to get up in the morning and do it or whatnot, it's just we didn't get it to really like get into it the way I think he wanted to get into it and stuff.
yeah,
But yes, I don't really know much. I mean, I hear mixed things about it and whatnot.
yeah.
To, obviously spirituality and whatnot as well. So, I mean, would you say that you're a guru then? Like, are
I
you saying
would
that, like,
I would never call myself a guru. Nor do I, I'm not big into guru culture, yeah, we all have teachers, and I think everyone is their own guru,
mm,
and they have to step into that path of introspection.
mhm,
And in our lives, we have guides and teachers that can point us in the right direction.
mhm,
But I would never feel comfortable being called a guru. Um, I would prefer to show someone the avenue and approach to which they can discover the guru within them,
mm,
and that voice of God and that intuition within them, and to bring some clarity to you and your husband. I'm not sure what his name is, but the practice of yoga is strengthening, it
mhm,
is stretching, it is flexibility, it is relaxation, but even that is just on the surface.
mm,
It's just on the surface because You know, I say for me that I always say that yoga and meditation won't change your life.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does, it gives you a relationship to your mind
Mm-hmm.
and your breath and your understanding of God. And that will change your life. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think breath is so important. And from what I understand, I know you come from a Christian background as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you know, I've had my own little struggle because I grew up in a Catholic home,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, some people view yoga as different or separate from that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've found, or the practice of yoga for me has deepened my relationship to God and the ability, the understanding of how breath actually works in a body and the ability to be in relationship to breath. One of the most powerful things for me is when I learned that the word spirit, like Holy Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
actually comes from the Latin word spiritus, and that means to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, two worlds for me combined in a very real way, you know, and so yoga to me is so much more. While it is strengthening and flexibility and all of that stuff, it is very much a spiritual and prayer based practice
Mm-hmm.
for me as an individual. But what I do when I teach is I give each individual the opportunity to connect to the God of their understanding if they choose to, you
Mm-hmm.
know, if they choose to make it that beautiful. If to them they come to class and it's all about six pack abs and, you know, then cool. Then it is what it is for them, you know?
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
get that. I get that. Actually, as you were speaking here, I was kind of thinking like, well, one is just like God. He gives us that free, will to choose, right? In regards to what I believe in regards to Christianity and whatnot, He gives us the free will to choose, what you're going to do, who you're going to serve, X, Y, and Z. And so even when you're mentioning about like, um, different perspectives that people may have about
Yeah.
it, but not, but how for you, you kind of, I guess gravitate to taking that time for prayer, taking that time to connect to God. I think, I guess I'm a living witness, and maybe you are too, that, God will use anything to draw you nearer to Him. Like, it's
Yeah.
funny, and I share my testimony all the time, and y'all probably tired of hearing me say GSL people, so I apologize in advance. But just so
Yeah.
Mr. Troy know, basically, GSL was like, I feel like these are the things that God used to draw me nearer to Him. Like, these are things I desired, thought about, prayed about all the time. The only thing that wasn't on this list back in my single days was my career. I was thinking about like pretty much these four things, even though the funny thing was sex and love was like in my mind together at that time.
Yeah.
so the top three was technically God, sex, and career. But then I realized, I've grown to mature to understand, love is separate and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Love is
And
its
what?
own thing,
Yeah.
It isn't always the expression of love, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
everything like that. But anyway, and so yeah, I mean, I feel like, hey, if God used yoga to draw you nearer to Him, who am I to take away from that testimony, your testimony, and how
Yeah.
God used whatever to draw you nearer. So,
Yeah.
again, I do think, things, just as good and bad to everything,
Yeah.
and so it's like how you use it, what you do, and all of that. And so,
Yeah.
I know a lot of times people point fingers and be like, oh, that's for X, Y, and Z. But I think as humans, we're all capable of both. We're all capable of both good and evil. And
Yeah.
so what are you going to take whatever it is and use it for? Like, I don't think, like, I don't know about yoga. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
all that stuff,
Yeah.
where it stemmed from and the history and all of that. But if I speak about, for example, my vice, which was sex or whatever the case is, I think people, for example, they struggle with the idea of sex because then they're like, oh, because it's God of the Bible, the God of the Bible has stipulated for a particular time in life. It's stipulated
Yeah.
for marriage and whatnot, right? And but Christians or people will give the impression that sex is bad. And it's like, well, no, sex isn't bad. It's just when you do it, it's the bad part,
Yeah.
according to the Bible and stuff. And so, it's just one of those things. I think people go on their own journey and figure all that type of
Yeah.
stuff out. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have anything? Like, what do you think about that when it comes to, what you've experienced and what you maybe encounter when you talk to people about yoga and things like that?
Well, it really depends who you're speaking to, right? But like everything, to me, the greatest yogi that ever walked the planet was Jesus. Because at the very foundation of all yoga teachings, let's look beyond all these postures that have taken over West and all that stuff, right? Yoga may have come through an Indian lineage and may have come through a lot of Hindu tradition.
Okay.
But it's so much more than that. In essence, at the very teaching of the very foundation of yoga is union with God. It's about being able to see divinity in every individual and every human being. It's about being able to see divinity in all of creation. And, what I like to point to is like reference to spirit and breath. If we can even understand, to me, it makes sense, right? Because breath is the one thing that connects all of us. Every single human being, more than race, more than religion, more than DNA, more than opinion, more than identity. It's the one thing. At one point, the air that is inside of me right now would probably be inside of you at one point in your life. That's how connected this thing is. That's how much it connects us. So on one hand, it makes sense to me that in some way, this is some aspect of divine intelligence, right? It's one thing that connects us to every little living thing. And here's how I like to look at it as well. Again, it's all perspective, but I like to put it like this. If that divinity, if some aspect of God is inside of me 23,000 times a day, moving in and out of me, as if God was making love to me, then prayer is not something we do in the morning or the afternoon or when we go to church or temple or mosque or whatever. We are living embodiments of prayer. We are praying in every moment, and now we like to use the new age word manifestation. Well, that's prayer. Manifestation is prayer. So what I invite people to do is understand that every word, every thought, every action is a prayer. We can't choose when we are praying and when we are not, because everything we do is prayer. And if we bring more intention to the way we live our lives, to the prayers we are saying when we don't even realize we're praying, then we would live our lives a lot differently. And I look behind you, GSL, God, sex, and love. Everything we do has the potential to be prayer. Sex has the potential to be prayer. Love God in every sense. It's if we see it all as prayer and understand that we are living embodiments of prayer, then we have no choice but to at least try to live our lives more intentionally.
That's real, man. I get that because, it's either worship or some form of communication with God. I know I heard this testimony. Unfortunately, I don't remember the gentleman. It was a gentleman. I don't remember his name or anything like that. But it's on YouTube. Maybe it's somebody can go Google or something. But it's one of those YouTube channels where they do, they go and they let people share their testimonies and whatnot. And he said that he, after he became a Christian, he decided to still do what he used to do, which was go and I guess do shrooms or something like that.
Yeah.
And he felt like he had an encounter with the Lord where he literally would not only did he see or experience like some demon activity around him and whatnot. But then he also felt like he was in the middle of the hand of God, and it's like he saw God give him each breath. Like he
Yeah.
couldn't breathe until he saw God give him each breath. And that, I don't know, I think that testimony has just stuck with me all these months since I heard it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, again, like you just said, if we really realize that, if it's really that deep, right, and God is
Yeah.
literally giving us every, they don't want me to say, some don't want me to say that, but if it's giving God, if God is giving us every breath, right, then like you said, we should be more mindful and intentional about, again, everything that we do say and everything like that. So that's why, I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying here, and I think that it's very important. But I'm about to ask you, I don't know if you got the answer, but I mean, but why is it, right? Why do we take it that seriously? The things we say, the things we do, each breath, like,
Yeah.
do you have
I think because it's easier not to.
Mm.
Like this is funny because lately I've been hearing a lot of people talking about stepping into their power, stepping into their power. They have all these new age cliches that come around in the spiritual world. Step into your power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're only glimpsing a very small bit of that. We're only understanding a very small bit of that. To step into your power, sure, it does mean to be courageous, to be fierce, to stand your ground and stand up for what you believe in and respect yourself and demand respect from others. All of that. It also means to acknowledge how powerful we really are.
Mm.
And if there's an environmentalist called Jane Goodall.
Mm.
And I don't know if this is her exact words, but she says, when you ask a question, how can we change the world? You're asking the wrong question.
Mm.
She said, the question you should be asking is, how are you changing the world?
Mm.
Because every word and every action and every thought changes the world around you, right? Everything we share, Miracle, it affects both of us. I could say something that lands for you, and we're not even in the same room. We're not even in the same country.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's easier for us, one of the biggest teachings of Christ for me, he said that you will do far greater things than I have ever done.
Mm.
He said the kingdom of God lives within you.
Mm-hmm.
But to acknowledge that is not a light load to carry.
True.
It comes with responsibility. If we acknowledge that every word, action, and thought changes the world we live in and impacts everyone,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a light load. That comes with so much responsibility. So to answer your question, I think it's just a lot easier to live in our own little bubble,
Mm-hmm.
to live our lives as if we are so small that we don't impact anybody. Poor little me, I'm just going to take care of myself. It's easier to do that.
Mm.
Because when we really realize our power,
Mm-hmm.
that comes with a huge responsibility. And I think that's part of it that a lot of people aren't acknowledging,
Listen, there's nothing more else I have to say, because you literally said some of the things that was on my heart and mind about it as well. That it's just something I don't know if it's a pet peeve for me now or what, but I feel like I've really just been paying attention to it lately. Like, it kind of annoys me when people want to give the impression that, oh, I don't have self-control, or, oh, I am this way, or I can't change, or whatever. They say all these different things, and like you say, it's like minimizing the authority that Christ has given us. At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you can have the power to change. Like, I think even with me getting up and doing daily inspiration, me doing GSL now, all those different things are like living testimonies of a change in my life. Like, I went from thinking about ideas and thinking about, well, I need to pray more, I need to Bible study more, I need to do this stuff more, thinking about those things, and then being intentional, like we've been talking about, and being like, you know what, I'm going to get up at 4 so I can do this daily inspiration and have it out by 6.
Yeah.
And just that one action has led to everything else that now me and you talking, what I mean? And
Yeah.
all these things from that one step. And I think this idea of feeling like, what I say, what I do, all that stuff only affects me. That's another thing I take issue with. I'm like, no, like you already said so beautifully that what you do and say, all that stuff can affect not only you, but your family, your community, and beyond what we even know. And so, yeah, I mean, I wish we would do what the new age person say and walk in. I can't remember the quote you said a second ago, but walking in our authority or taking,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just one of those things. It's kind of disappointing in a way, because who knows where things would be if we really did, again, take understand how important every breath, every word, everything we do is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a process. We're in school. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it. We'll figure it out. But to bring it back to your first question, which was about yoga, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the way in which I teach yoga, when you move your body and you're moving with breath, I know now we look at the world of yoga today and it's very fast, it's very aerobic, it's like exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So the manner in which I teach and share and practice yoga is that it looks more like Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Right? So every breath and every movement must be synced completely. The very first teaching of yoga says that yoga is now. And yoga means union, right? So it means that yoga is now. And the second teaching says that yoga is the quieting of the fluctuations of the mind. So to bring this to a close and bring it home, it's like, how can we live more intentionally if you can't even be with your own body and breath with more intention? If you can't even move your body with intention, with complete presence, and be in relationship to your mind and your breath, then we're going to have a hard time living with intention. So for me, what the practice of yoga does, it's like a training ground. It's like a practice. That little 6x2 mat helps us cultivate this relationship to our mind and our breath, so that not only do we move more intentionally on our yoga mat or our meditation cushion, but if that, to me at least, if that did not give us the tools and the ability to live more intentionally, then what use would it be? And I'm not saying that Pilates and Zumba and aerobics and all these stuffs are useless. But for me, if it did not impact how we live our lives and increase our ability to love one another and really see one another, I would probably walk away from it.
I can understand that. Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to do things that's going to, I think what drew me, well, not just drew me to God, but when I was going through what I call the cultivation period, this particular time in life, not to say that I'm stopped growing or nothing, but it was a particular time that I really, really was growing. I think the Lord was showing me that basically, it's like at some point I was starting to feel like, okay, I know there's a lot of goals, there's a lot of things I want to do, but do I want to do something that's going to last, or do I want to do something that's going to just kind of fade away? Because I was getting the revelation that I was receiving at that time that was basically that the things that I do for God is what's going to last. And I was like, well, I want to do something that's going to last, and that's the decision I came to or whatnot. And so, and then, here we go, years later, here we are, right? Not knowing that it was going to be all of this that come from that idea and decision and whatnot. But still, like, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what you're saying as well, like being intentional about everything and being present and just all of that stuff is just very important and everything. So I do wonder, since we've been talking about it, and you're not a guru, but you up there. You're not a self-proclaimed guru, because somebody.
No, it's all practice, we're in a human form, we all make mistakes, we all, and it's all part of that journey. But yeah.
I was
Go
going
on.
to ask, like, well, how did you get into this particular art form?
Oh wow, that could be a long question, but I'll try and make it. It's a really good story, really
Okay.
good story. So people have been asking me that for the last 15 plus years.
Mm.
And I keep saying that, well, one, I when I graduated from university, I went to university in Florida. And when
Okay.
I in Tampa.
Mm.
And when I came back home and after university, people would ask, well, what are you gonna do with your life? And I'll be like, well, I'm gonna teach yoga. They're like, but do you do yoga? I was like, no. But I know I'm gonna teach yoga.
Interesting.
And I've always wondered, well, how come? Like, how did I know that? Right. And
Yeah.
I always reference, I remember I was 14 years old and I was going to a boys' school in Trinidad.
Mm.
And I used to go up every lunchtime and sit with a teacher called Mr. Hadeed. And he used to give me these texts to read, these like Eastern books and stuff to read of
Mm.
all kinds. And so I always say that I think that was my very first influence of something called yoga.
Okay.
And I always used to say that maybe one day I can meet Mr. Hadeed again and tell him how he might have influenced my life.
Mm.
And about 2 years ago, so I've been saying this for 15 years. As long I've been teaching yoga, right?
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen him since I was like 14. So that's like 25 years or more.
Yeah.
I won't tell you how old I am. I'm like 140.
Hey, you look great, man.
Um, but about 2 years ago, I got this comment from my website, which usually goes to junk, because usually it's all spam, most of it.
Okay.
But it said, I think I gave you the practice of brahmacharya to read in 1994 Fatima College, S. Hadeed. And I was like, what? So I replied to him and I got his number and I called him. I was like, Mr. Hadeed. He's like, my name is Sylvan. He said, and let me tell you something. He's like, you first came into my room because you were sent to detention.
Oh.
And he said, I gave you the practice of brahmacharya, which is a yogic text on sexual misconduct and sexual energy. He said, I gave you that to read as a joke because you were a 14-year-old boy. He said, I don't even do yoga. He's like, I
Wow.
don't know anything about yoga. He said, and you read this text that most adults couldn't even read. He said, and after that, you came up of your own free will every lunchtime to read more and read more. So I just kept giving you stuff to read.
Wow.
And how he found me, this is really amazing. He said, I have been talking about you for the last 25 years. I said, well, I've been talking about you for the last 20 years. He said,
Wow.
well, how I found you is that he now teaches in Toronto.
Okay.
He said he was teaching a class and telling them about this 14-year-old kid called Troy Hadeed. And they Googled me.
Wow.
And then they showed him my website and he said he almost fell off his chair because he had no idea what had become of my life.
Mm.
And it was just so beautiful, you know, in his words, he says the synchronicity without even a word that
Mm.
I was talking about him at how he impacted my life. And he's been talking about me at 14 years old, how I impacted his life. And, you know, things like that, sometimes there's no doubt that, you know, for me, miracle is like, I'm not going to tell anyone what God looks like or sounds like or what shape or form God comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're really paying attention, there's no doubt that there is some divine intelligence or agency that holds all of it together to me, you know?
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And I say that all the time. Like at the end of the day, again, like I said, I can't take nobody's free will away. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, from what I believe, that God gives us the free will to choose. And so
Yeah.
therefore, because there's a free will to choose, there's all these options and X, Y, and Z. Now I know what the Bible say, and I'm like, all right, if somebody comes to talk to me, or if they listen to my daily inspiration or whatever, I'm basically going off of that because that's what I believe. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, too, I mean, I'm willing to talk to anybody. I don't have any problem with, talking to anybody that may believe differently. As long as
Yeah.
we can all agree to disagree, and you don't take away my right to believe what I believe, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to take away yours. And
Yeah.
I guess we'll all see, at the end
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
day, But yeah, I agree that that's the main thing that actually came into my heart and mind as you was telling that story, that there was definitely divine situation where, it just came full circle.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many things can happen that way
Yeah.
in life and stuff. And there you go. There's another example of how even the quote unquote smallest thing or a joke or whatever the case is can be so impactful. And I know we talk about all the time here on GSL as well about like how important it is, like parenting and all that type of stuff, like rearing children, like. And I think that's why did we get on this, Lord? That's my kind of struggle when it comes to all the different things that are impacting kids right now, and the things that they're
Yeah.
trying to, kind of force on kids and children to learn at such an early age and whatnot. But hey, again, I'm just saying that all these things are important, and
Yeah.
so we can see again that could have been a negative thing as well. Like it's just all about like the type of person and the ground
Yeah.
and of your heart and whatnot. So I'm glad to hear that these things impacted you in a positive way and led you to
Yeah.
and that you
Yeah.
was to come back full circle and have that conversation with them. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have kids myself,
Mm.
but I have a lot of like someone just asked me this morning. I was like, I have lots of kids. They're all my kids.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of really close friends who have kids, and to me, they're all, we're all one family. We're all
Mhm.
spirit is what connects us, not blood or DNA, in my opinion. And when it comes to kids and like a younger generation, I just think it's so important to have kids cultivate their own relationship to God and have the ability to question everything.
Mhm.
Because if we only have kids believe the narrative we tell them or obey everything we tell them to do without questioning that, then what we have is a generational regurgitation of mistakes.
Mm.
And we become very stuck. So with kids and the next generation, I think it's so important that we teach them about God, we teach them our divinity, and we give them the ability within themselves to go into a state of introspection and inquiry, so they can decide what is right, who it serves.
Mm-hmm.
Does it affect people negatively? Who does it affect negatively? What it mean to love in this situation? Who am I loving? But to really give them that ability throughout their lives to ask those questions, rather than just repeat what they're told all the time. I don't know if as a parent, if that makes sense, if that connects to you.
Yeah, I mean, no, I understand that. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
get that because there's a lot of things that I kind of questioning as I was, being raised and whatnot. And I thought in my mind, like, well, maybe I'll, study different things and whatnot when I get older and whatnot. And then, yeah, I went through my own journey to, again, build my own relationship with God and stuff like that. And it brought me here. And so I understand exactly what you're saying and everything like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with asking questions. I think God wants us to ask questions because the more that we do, the more he reveals himself and whatnot. So, I think there's something to that. Yeah, I'm, my little guy's 4 and it's so, so if you, I know we were kind of chatting
What's
earlier.
his name?
So we call him NJ. He's a junior. So Nadario Jr. That's my husband's name, Nadario.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Nadario Jr. Shout out to NJ. Hey NJ.
Yeah. And what does Nundario mean?
That is a good question. I could try to Google it real quick. I meant to look that up, but it's a whole thing now because see, that's his dad's name, and it's a whole little story behind that. But he's a junior. I don't know. Can I look that up real quick? Who can look? Let's see who can Google
Yeah,
it quick.
Google it and check it out. I,
Let's-
I don't even know how to spell it, so I wouldn't even attempt to Google it myself.
Oh, to spell it. Okay, I'll look it up real quick. Yeah, I know I looked it up before. I feel like it was something about water, but let me look it up again. Let me see. A quick Google search says Nazareth.
Hmm.
Huh? Let me try. Let me keep looking. The one
Maybe
from
it's,
Nazareth. Oh no, that's hold on. Did I spell it right? Oh, they gave me the. You know what? They gave me the alternative. They gave me nausea. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so Nadario, it says here on the names, you were a seeker of truth and wisdom. You could have seen your future lives. I don't know if that's I don't know. Everybody Google
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
Google the show. But yeah, something like that. That's what names.org says.
yeah.
I'm gonna go to it. The meaning of Nadario. Oh, okay. So now it's breaking down the N and the A and this
Yeah.
one. I don't know. Websites, man.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Strong
like
name,
that.
regardless. Strong name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, actually that sounds a little bit like him as well. He likes to learn. He's always like learning this, learning that, and
Yeah.
he's into coding and all of that type of stuff. And so it's so funny because I'm into like arts and God and all this stuff. So we have these conversations that are like
Yeah.
probably over each other's heads, but we be smiling and nodding and
Yeah. Yeah. So,
shout out to Happy.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
man. Well, I don't want to be long your time because I know you probably got more things to do. Is there anything else you want to share with us before you go?
No, it was a real honor to be here. And yeah, I love what you're doing. I'm gonna check out lots more of it. And yeah, I just really hope that I could have contributed to your listeners and to you in some way. And if anybody wants to find me, they could find me on Instagram, Troy Hadeed or troyhadeed.com. And I'm an open book. Have any questions anybody might have, I'll be glad to help or contribute in some way.
Yeah, sounds good,
Yeah.
man. I hope you come back and chat with us again one day. Sometimes we have panel discussions with men, whatnot. So yeah, come on back and we'd
Yeah,
love to hear some of your insight about all.
anytime. Just call on me anytime and I'll be there.
Sounds like a plan. Look, I need to come
Yeah.
over there to Trinidad, man.
Yeah, you can. You're welcome. You love it. Now, Trinidad's a funny place. It's beautiful beyond like so many beaches, nature, everything. But it's very much also a party culture.
Oh,
Huge party culture.
okay.
And I was telling someone today that one of my teachers once came here and they said, "Yo, Trinidad teaches you how to love because." There's the mentality sometimes nothing really operates as it's supposed to operate. It's a Caribbean third world nation. Nothing functions as it's supposed to function. And sometimes there's so much love in Trinidad,
Okay.
but it's also a place that teaches you to love because a lot of what you expect, it just doesn't go down that way. And it's like, yo, can you love now? Can you love now? Can you love now? But it's a really magical, beautiful place.
Well, listen, look, he just sold it for all of us. We all want to go now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, again, I appreciate you and your time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. And like I said, you're welcome back anytime as well.
Same in Miracle. You have a beautiful, beautiful day.
Miracle Sims, let's go. No, I'm good, but I bet you wish it I would have a one night affair. But I won't go where you need. 'Cause right now you're looking so good. That's right. But is it worth the chance? Still even more than
Thank you so much for watching God, Sex, and Love. And thank you to Mr. Choi for joining us tonight. I hope that you all enjoyed this conversation. Feel free to check out him and his endeavors. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Good night.
that I'm not the